Welcome to Mr. Mutlow's Topic in 10 Minutes. This video focuses on sport in the UK and forms part of a series for the A.S. OCR Physical Education course. The focus of these videos is the socio-cultural element of that course. This section can be further subdivided into two categories. Number 1, organisations and running of sport in the UK, and number 2, reasons for participation in sport in the UK. For ease, I will begin by discussing the organisations and structure involved in sport in the United Kingdom. The first organisation to consider when thinking about this question is UK Sport. In simple terms, UK Sport is primarily responsible for elite sports provision, be that athletes, events, or structures. You can find more information about this in your revision guide, but I will briefly outline some of the key things for which UK Sport is responsible. UK Sport is responsible for supporting world-class coaching, managing international sporting relationships, attracting major sporting programmes such as the Olympics and World Cups to the United Kingdom, promoting ethical behaviour, developing elite and performance lifestyles, and coordinating other organisations within the UK. UK Sport also has responsibility for funding many elite athletes. This responsibility goes hand in hand with UK Sport's management of the National Institutes of Sport. These are elite training centres for UK Sport-funded athletes, such as the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield or Bisham Abbey Sports Centre in Berkshire. At these venues, elite athletes funded by UK Sport's world-class programme are able to train and live a performance lifestyle as professionals. Although it is responsible for funding most elite sports, UK Sport does not take responsibility for all sporting activities. Some sports, which are not considered performance sports in the United Kingdom, have devolved responsibility to Sport England, who funds their elite performance programme. Therefore, UK Sport is responsible for funding, organising and managing elite athletes in the performance sports in this country. It is important to remember that UK Sport is also responsible for sport in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. The second major organisation or set of organisations which you need to be familiar with are sports councils. These include Sport England, Sport Scotland, Sport Wales and the Sports Council for Northern Ireland. Unlike UK Sport, these organisations are primarily responsible for mass participation sport. That being so, they aim to increase opportunities for participation, fight obesity, develop club and school links, fund participation initiatives, promote volunteering, coaching, leadership and other roles within sport, and support government targets for physical activity. All of these things are aimed at promoting sport and at promoting a healthy, balanced lifestyle in society as a whole. You may well have seen the Sport England logo on the side of a local leisure centre or sporting facility. This is often because they fund community use facilities such as sports halls and astroturfs. Sports councils' roles are not confined solely to mass participation sport, and they do fund elite athletes in some sports which are not part of the world-class performance programme. This includes sports such as basketball in the United Kingdom. It goes without saying that each sports council is responsible for mass participation sport within its own borders. Therefore, Sport Scotland is responsible for mass participation sport in Scotland. This is obviously different to UK Sport, which, as one organisation on its own, is responsible for elite sport in the whole of the United Kingdom. To summarise, therefore, UK Sport is primarily responsible for elite sport, and the sports councils, such as Sport England, primarily responsible for mass participation sport. There is one further body or set of bodies which you need to be able to talk about. These are national governing bodies, or NGBs for short. Some examples of NGBs include the Rugby Football Union, or RFU, the Football Association, or FA, England Hockey, the Amateur Swimming Association, or ASA, and the Lawn Tennis Association, or LTA. The primary responsibility of such organisations is the administration and coordination of one specific sport within a nation. This involves organising local and national competitions, dealing with disciplinary issues, selecting and preparing national squads, developing talent, maintaining and introducing new rules, controlling finances, training coaches and officials, and coordinating with member clubs and international governing bodies. Let's use England Hockey as an example. Whilst the elite athletes involved in England Hockey's programme are funded by UK Sport and train at Bisham Abbey National Sports Centre, they are selected by England Hockey, the national governing body. Equally, the English Hockey League, the premier club competition in England, is organised and run by the national governing body. So too are any disciplinary issues relating to that league. The fixtures and finances of that league are the responsibility of England Hockey too. Therefore, whilst UK Sport has a role in dealing with the elite athletes who play hockey in England, the league, cup and organisational structure is the responsibility of the national governing body. To summarise, therefore, UK Sport has primary responsibility for elite athletes. Sport England has primary responsibility for mass participation, and national governing bodies are responsible for the organisation and structure of an individual sport. There are two other organisations which you may need to know for the exam, and I will turn my attentions to these now. Both relate to the Olympic Games. The first organisation relating to the Olympics which you need to be aware of is the International Olympic Committee, or IOC for short. The primary responsibility of this organisation is for selecting Olympic host cities, choosing sports which will take part in the Olympics, and ensuring that the Olympic Games as a spectacle run smoothly every 4 years. Their role also involves selecting sponsors and suppliers for the Olympic Games. In short, they are responsible for the concept of the Olympic Games and for selecting the host cities for each Olympiad. The IOC is a multinational organisation that transcends borders and boundaries. However, the British Olympic Association is concerned with all things Olympic relating to Great Britain. In simple terms, the BOA is responsible for selecting and managing Team GB athletes and coaches, and for bidding for the Olympic Games on behalf of Great Britain. Primarily, however, their job is to organise and manage Team GB at Olympics. To summarise, therefore, The IOC is responsible for the organisation and running of the Olympic concept, whilst the BOA is responsible for organising, selecting and managing Team GB. Each nation has its own Olympic association, but there is only one International Olympic Committee. If you are able to discuss the roles of these 5 organisations in the organisation of sport in the UK, you will be able to answer any question on this topic area. I will now turn my attention to participation in sport in the UK. When considering reasons why somebody may choose to participate in sport, or indeed may choose not to participate in sport, it is important to consider a number of factors. Obviously, people of different ages, genders and social classes will have different reasons for participating or otherwise, and it is important that you can consider each of these reasons when considering the question of participation in sport. Of course, an old age pensioner's reasons for participating will be very different to those of a child. So what are some of the factors which may affect someone's participation in sport in the United Kingdom? I will try to address some of these, although this list is not exhaustive. One of the first factors influencing participation is time. Our ability to participate in sport is limited by the amount of free time which we have after work and family commitments are taken care of. For children and pensioners, there is a greater time to participate in sport than there generally is for working adults. Another key influence on participation is age. Some activities have age limits, be they a lower limit or an upper limit, and this may prohibit participation in that activity if you do not meet the requirements. For example, an over 60s bowls team prohibits anybody under that age from being a part of that activity. Equally, some activities are less suitable for certain ages. For example, playing rugby as a junior is not advised with those who are over the age of 18 due to physical development. Therefore, junior sides are run. Another factor which may influence participation is health. Some activities are not suitable for people who are unwell or may have more frail bodies than others. That being so, our choice of activity may be limited by our physical condition. Gender may also influence someone's participation in sport or physical activity. Certain sports have gender stereotypes attached. For example, some people consider it gay for men to play hockey. Equally, there is a stereotype that all women who play rugby are lesbians. Obviously, neither of these things are true, but they may influence the choice of somebody to participate in a given sport. Equally, a female football team may not exist in a given area, and therefore a lady would be unable to participate in this sport at a competitive level. Therefore, gender can influence participation. Transport may also be a factor which influences participation in sport. There may be insufficient transport links to allow you to access a facility, or your parents may not be willing to drive you to the local football club. This will therefore limit your opportunities to participate. If you are middle-aged and cannot afford the bus fare and do not drive, this may equally influence the sports in which you can participate, as you will be limited to those clubs which you can walk to. Additionally, your peers may influence your choice of participating in sport or otherwise. It may be that your friends and those that you socialise with are sporty, and therefore your choice of social activity is to play sport. Equally, however, sport may not be considered cool by those who you respect, and therefore you may not wish to participate yourself. In those senses, your peers, i.e. family and friends, may well influence your choice to participate in sport or otherwise. When considering influences on participation, we must also consider financial implications. Some activities are more expensive than others, and therefore people may only be able to participate in those which they can afford to take part in. A pensioner, for example, will probably have a lower disposable income than a working adult, and therefore may have a more limited choice of activities in which they can participate. Equally, fencing requires a lot of equipment, and is therefore more likely to be more expensive than running. This may limit participation in fencing. Your geographical location also influences your ability to play sport. It may be that your sport of choice is skiing, but as an English person living in this country, there is limited snowfall and few mountains on which skiing would be possible. Therefore, your ability to participate in this sport would be limited, and you may instead choose to lead a sedentary or inactive lifestyle. Likewise, someone living in a landlocked country may find participation in water sports more challenging. Another factor which influences participation is school experience. For many people who participate regularly in physical activity, their love of sport was fostered during their education. However, for some people who do not enjoy sport, they were put off by their school experience. Therefore, our experiences at school may influence our choices of participating later on in life. The government may influence your participation in sport or physical activity. In some countries, certain sports are banned and others are prioritised, and therefore your ability to participate is limited. Consider the United Kingdom, where the government have strict anti-gun laws, and therefore owning a gun is more difficult than it might be in America, for example. This makes participating in sports such as shooting more challenging for a British person than it might for somebody in the USA. Equally, some communist countries only participate in a small number of sports in order to maximise their success in these areas. This helps them with their shop window effect, which you will know about from your study of the Olympic Games. The final influence on participation, which I am going to make mention of, is religion. Some religious groups see it as inappropriate to show too much flesh if you are a female. This is an example of how sporting participation may be limited by religion. It would, for example, be inappropriate for some Muslim ladies to show their body in a swimming pool, and therefore their ability to participate in the sport of swimming is highly limited. Generally speaking, influences on participation can be subdivided into three major categories. The first category is opportunity, or the chance to take part. Opportunity factors may include time or location, things which provide or limit a person's chances of taking part. Other influences could be described as provision factors. In simple terms, this means the facilities and equipment to take part. Provision factors may include transport, facilities in general, as in sports centres, tennis courts or swimming pools, and coaches or specialists who are prepared to lead or teach you to play a sport. The final set of factors are esteem factors. In simple terms, this means confidence, or the confidence to take part. Esteem factors may include stereotyping and school experience. If you are able to use opportunity, provision and esteem in an answer about influences on participation, this will be well received by the examiner. You can use it to scaffold an answer and give more in-depth responses such as time, money, health and gender under the opportunity, provision and esteem subheadings. That concludes the topic in 10 minutes on sport in the UK.